Have you ever found yourself wanting to do something that deep down inside you really don't want to do? Or you found yourself not wanting to do something deep down inside you really want to do? Scripture calls this temptation, and everyone who has lived, including Jesus, has dealt with temptation. But Jesus shows us the way how to overcome it. Hi, my name is Ben, and it is my passion to equip you to know and to follow Jesus. And I can't think of a better way to do that than reading Scripture. And in Luke 4, Jesus shows us how he and then also how we can overcome temptation. Jesus was baptized, and then he's driven into the wilderness where he's fasting and praying for 40 days. And at that time, Satan shows up with 3 temptations that Jesus is able to overcome. And if we pay attention, we too can follow Jesus, overcome our temptations. The first temptation Satan shows up to give Jesus is to turn rock into bread, which makes sense. Jesus hasn't eaten for 40 days. He's hungry. He's famished. And there's nothing in Scripture that tells you you cannot turn rock into bread. It doesn't violate any rules. It doesn't violate any laws. It doesn't violate any traditions. So if it's not a sin, what makes it a temptation? See, sometimes there are things in our life that we don't want to do, and they're not necessarily sins, but they're temptations because they knock us off our goal. If you want to try to lose weight and there's a chocolate cake in front of you, it's not wrong to eat the chocolate cake. There's no law or rule against it, but it's a temptation because it's trying to knock you off your purpose. Jesus is here on earth for a purpose, to serve his Father and to trust his Father. And in this moment, he is trusting his Father with all his needs by not eating. Normally, there's nothing wrong with eating bread. And if you can, turning rock into bread, there's nothing wrong with it. But the temptation is for Jesus not to trust his Father with his daily needs. That is a struggle we all deal with at one time or another, not trusting our Father to provide us with our daily needs. But Jesus overcomes this temptation by choosing to trust his Father. Even when he's hungry, even when he hasn't eaten in 40 days, he will trust what he has and what he doesn't have in the hands of his Father. So it's about trust. The second temptation is Satan takes Jesus up and shows him all the worlds at once. And Satan surrenders all his power, all his hold over all the kingdoms over to Jesus. Now, this is exactly what the Father wants for Jesus. The Father wants Jesus to rule, to be king, to be the Alpha and the Mega, to be over all things except for the Father. But this isn't the way the Father has in mind for Jesus. The way that Jesus will rule and become king is through the cross, is through his death, is through his resurrection. So Jesus overcomes the second temptation, again by trusting his Father, this time with the direction and the purpose and the walk that the Father has for Jesus. The third temptation that Jesus gets from Satan is a tricky one. Satan is picking up on Jesus' theme. Jesus is choosing to trust the Father. So Satan says, if you trust the Father, jump off this cliff and he will rescue you. Jesus is tempted now with his trust. He overcomes this temptation by choosing to trust the Father even without the Father having to prove himself. And this is a hard lesson to learn. We are called to trust our Father even when the Father doesn't prove it. So Jesus overcomes temptation with trust. And that's how we overcome temptation, by putting all our trust into the Father. The question is then, how do we build that trust? And that is the theme for the next episode I have. So make sure you click, make sure you follow, make sure you subscribe so you can get that next video on how we trust our Father.